Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Cold weather means varmints and critters trying to get into your home, looking for a warm place to bed down. If you find an unwanted four-legged guest in your home, or any other type of guest, doesn't have to have four legs, call the Wildlife Division at Southeast Termite and Pest Control. They will trap, remove, and repair any damage that's been done. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Okay, folks. These are my rules of engagement, my coaching search maxims, if you will. I'll try to speed through these. Number one, you see there on the left, know who you are right now. This is going to make people mad. Think Moneyball. Oakland A's GM Billy Beane knew the A's couldn't compete with the Yankees financially, so he started putting his roster together in a completely different way. The A's were competitive after he went to a stats-based system of roster building. The Red Sox then copied his formula and won 3 World Series with Moneyball. He said, I can't do what my competitors do, so I'm going to do something else. The Vols should take note of that. Tennessee isn't traditional powerhouse Tennessee right now, so don't try and act like you are. If I were Danny White, I'd be thinking like Mississippi State, and here's what I mean. Tennessee isn't going to out-recruit Alabama, Florida, and Georgia on a regular basis anytime soon, not without cheating. Plus, you've tried the great recruiter guy, the great recruiting staff. It hasn't worked. So find a proven winner first. A winner who's won without 5-star players. Gary Pinkel at Missouri, Steve Spurrier when he was at Duke, then he did at Florida, then South Carolina, Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. These guys weren't viewed so much as ace recruiters as they were viewed as really good X's and O's guys. Find a guy who can win games with the talent available, and you'll eventually get the recruits. With UT's recruiting budget, UT's facilities, they're usually top 15 in recruiting, even with crummy coaches. Since the year 2000, Clemson has had 2 more NFL draft picks than Tennessee. 2. But since 2000, Clemson also has 206 wins. Tennessee has just 149. 2 more NFL picks, 57 more wins. They've won 2 national titles, played for 2 more. You've played for none, and you haven't even won a conference title in this century. You've had talent. You haven't had anyone to coach it. Find a proven winner, and the recruiting will come. If you hire someone who could win at Mississippi State, for example, that person would likely win big at Tennessee. 2, find a builder, not a beneficiary. You need to find a proven builder, someone who has taken a job in bad straits and made it better. You want a Johnny Majors, not a Philip Fulmer. You want an Adolph Rupp, not a Joe B. Hall. Fulmer and Hall won national titles, had great winning percentages, and were terrific coaches. But Majors and Rupp had to build from the ground up. That's what Tennessee needs right now. So when you're looking at winning percentages, know what you're looking at. Someone who starts at a bad place and builds it up won't have as good a winning percentage as someone who takes over a program that's already good. Check out this resume, okay? Would you applaud this hire for Tennessee? Or would you paint the rock and tweet obscenities at this man? Because if you just go by winning percentage, 558 over 9 years, well, that's not impressive. But if you dig deeper, you learn that Iowa State and Pitt both improved, culminating in a 12-0 national championship for Johnny Majors. That was his record when Tennessee hired him. 558 winning percentage, not that impressive. Don't worry about that. What about this guy? Does his resume wow you? 1 year at a small school, then slow improvement at a Power 5 school, no bowl wins. Around here, he'd be hated by year 3. But that was Nick Saban's resume from Toledo and Michigan State when LSU hired him. He won a national title 4 years later. Find a builder and don't dock points from him if his winning percentage doesn't wow you. That's just what happens when you take over a bad program, which is where Tennessee is right now. Number 3 over on our list, 2 and/or 7. Here's what that means. Simple. If I were doing the hiring, perfect world, I'd look for someone who's either proven something at 2 different schools or someone who's been at a school for like 7 years. Because that way you can see that his success wasn't just built on one recruiting class or one great player. Might not be possible in Tennessee's current situation, but these would be my goals. Number 4, quarterback wizard. The SEC and all of college football has become an offensive game. Most teams with great offenses have great quarterbacks. Can you find a coach who has a knack for coaching up quarterbacks like Dan Mullen with Alex Smith, Tim Tebow, Dak Prescott, Kyle Trask? If only David Cutcliffe were a little younger. Try to find a quarterback wizard. Okay. Number 5, forget Tennessee. If I'm an AD over there and I have an assistant AD come into my office and he says a candidate's number 1 credential are his ties to Tennessee, I'd throw him out of my office. UT fans have proven, like any other fans, they'll call for a grad's head just like anyone else's. For that matter, and Will won't like this, I wouldn't want to hear too many VFLs or boosters coming into my office to tell me about UT's culture. Here at Tennessee, we do things. Look, at Tennessee, you've been losing that way. I hope Danny White and his new coach are allowed to create their own culture. Nick Saban wasn't handed a houndstooth hat at Alabama. He didn't have to speak in a drawl like Bear Bryant and Gene Stallings. And I'm pretty sure Urban Meyer never lost any sleep worrying about how Steve Spurrier did things. Let these guys build their own culture, even if it's different from the culture Tennessee's known. Number 6, more dirty words. Things I wouldn't want somebody telling me are a candidate's top selling point. SEC ties, Southern, great recruiter. Hey, if they happen to be any of those things and they're a proven builder, perfect, great. But being a great recruiter with SEC ties and a Southern accent didn't help Jeremy Pruitt. And Nick Saban and Urban Meyer weren't hurt too much by not having any Southern ties. And while Dan Mullen and James Franklin were first-time head coaches, and that would scare me if I were hiring for Tennessee right now, it wasn't any lack of Southern or SEC ties that hurt them. Heck, Butch Jones recruited better than Pruitt, and he had no Southern ties. He just couldn't coach guys up, and that has nothing to do with a compass. Number 7, clean bill of health. Randy Boyd said this the other day. You can't very well fire a guy for compliance issues and then hire a guy with a history of compliance issues. I know Hugh Freeze is available, but the timing is wrong. If you hire him before the NCAA hands out your penalties, they will hammer you for not learning your lesson. And if you hire a guy with an NCAA track record, probably won't help your court case with Jeremy Pruitt where you're proving you fired a guy for cause. That could cost you some cash. Number 8, play the long game. If White dives into this search and realizes he's not getting the top-tier candidates he wants, I'd tell him to punt and let Kevin Steele be the interim. That may hurt the program for a year, but it beats hurting it long-term by making a panicky Derek Dooley-style hire. We've lived through that. Don't hire someone just to hire someone. If the options aren't great, give Steele a shot. Maybe he becomes the tourniquet you need right now, just as Mike Shula and Matt Luke performed those duties at Alabama and Ole Miss. 9, heed the warnings. When Al Davis said that Lane Kiffin was a liar and UT would regret hiring him, no one listened. When Aaron Murray said that Jeremy Pruitt would be a bad hire, no one listened. UT can't afford another strikeout. A home run is the goal, but you have to have a single. You got to get on base. You got to stop the decline. So if I had someone give me a warning beforehand, I'd sure as heck do my own investigating and look into it. I'd ask to speak to the one-on-one. I'd dig into that. Finally, number 10, calm down. It sounds like the search is moving fast, but if it drags, don't freak out. The last time around, by the time John Curry had a yes from Mike Leach, DiPietro and Davenport had already replaced Curry with Fulmer. So instead of Curry and Leach, you got the current mess. Leach would not have been my first choice, but how much more money would UT have right now in its coffers if they just kept Curry and hired Leach? And would we be talking about dozens of rule violations? Probably not. So if I'm the AD, the administration, or fan, I'm keeping my powder dry. Let it play out. Don't panic. Those are just my maxims. Would the guys on the panel agree? I'm guessing they would not. We'll hash that out next. Come on back on the Sports Source.